सीधासलख एनबीएफ सम्मेलन को नहीं जाऊँ आपको
The challenges for media, for TV broadcasters, and I would like to start with Mr. Wahi. So, Mr. Wahi, what do you think is the way forward for TV broadcasters?
So thank you anyway for having me on this interesting panel. So I think your points you made are very, very valid. Clearly we are moving to a digital age, a lot of digital advertising. I was reading some data in terms of the growth that the digital media has seen depending upon what report you read, between whether it's today if you look at the total advertising revenue, digital is accounting for between 33 to 45%, growing between 20 and 30% again depending upon the reports you need. So it is clearly here to stay, and I think that my sense is that as the as the consumers take on media and they absorb their consumption through mobile phones. Mobile phone usage is going up in India. It's four and a half or almost 5 hours a day today that consumers are spending on their mobile phones. So I think all of these trends mean that the advertising, that the news media also needs to adapt in terms of about the content, right? Because the digital is here to stay. It's not going to decrease. It's only going to increase. Today it's 45%. Maybe it'll become 50%. But it's, in my view, it's not to say that it is at some point going to completely take over from the TV to advertising, because it's like, I give the example of retail in India. Today there's a lot of noise about e-commerce becoming a large player, but after everything we look at it, almost 95% of Indian retail is still brick and mortar retail, and e-commerce only accounts for 5% of total. Even in developed markets today, in markets like the US, e-commerce accounts for only 25% of total retail. 75% is still brick and mortar retail. So I think similarly, there is going to be a current tussle, but at the end of the day, it's going to be about content. It's about how you reach your consumers. How do you make it easily accessible to them? Whether it's short news, relevant news, integrity, honesty, all of that stuff. So I think it's about going to be how do you adapt your content based on the way they will consume, and you know that 5G is going to transform that even more, faster, quicker. So from that perspective, I think that's the way I see it.
But the basic question is how to make money. So Uday, can you enlighten us on this thing?
Hello. So before answering, I would like to give a perspective on technology itself. So the technology, when started, it was a broadcast, one-to-many, right? That's where cable and satellite has come. And today, TV is digital actually. And if you see today, I will look at Amazon, I think post-Diwali, you may be seeing 50 million smart TVs. So it's all digital. So what is going to be different is the digital gives accurate metrics for advertisers. Every 10 seconds, your heartbeat comes, who is watching, what content is watched. So it's unlike BARC or TRP. I mean, the digital side for advertisers, there's a lot of accurate metrics available for the monetization purposes. And you've seen what mobile has done to landline in India, and what mobile data has done, disruption. And if you go back, I come from telecom background and then went to media, but what Symbian OS and Nokia used to have 70% market share. So I see that going forward, there will be a lot of disruption in the news industry. It's going to be digital, it's going to be hyper-local. So I come from Telangana, it's a Karimnagar district, Huzurabad. So the younger generation, the millennials, are watching extremely hyper-local news. They don't care about what's happening. The amount of time they spend on hyper-local is high. So today, what technology brings is the cloud playouts for the news channels, gives the ability for the broadcasters to go hyper-local. See, today any national news broadcasters can immediately launch a district-level news channel. So that is the future, and that also will give advertisers accurate metrics for them to monetize. I think that's the future. And if you see 500 million smartphones with more than coming to around 50 million TV households, It's already people are watching digital, and I think that's my view. And we are already seeing in the US, the CPMs, for example, in connected TVs are $20 CPM. So that will happen in India also, I think.
That is the question I wanted to ask you. What is your take, Litisha, on it?
I would like to continue. Like, as rightly you pointed that, yes, as a consumer, I only know streaming services, digital platforms, right? But as a second generation media entrepreneur, I'm worried. Because when you say advertising, I can't survive on only digital advertising revenue, not in India, not at the moment. And in fact, as a regional advertiser, I definitely cannot survive on digital advertising revenue. So, especially I think this conversation I was having just before our discussion, that it's become like a caste system. English is at the top of the CPM rate, then there is Hindi, then there comes other regional languages. In fact, this is for everybody's information, Odia just got monetized on the big tech platforms. So imagine we being a 25-year-old company, being first and a pioneer in every stage, in digital, in television, everything, and yet still struggling for the CPM rate because you know, you're either being treated as second-class citizens or I don't know. So how to bridge that gap in digital advertising? Because technically in India, I don't think anybody can survive on only digital advertising revenue. So I would like to know how do we survive is, you know, my question would be that, to learn from you.
I think that's the today's view. So we have seen how connected TV advertising in the US, now it's like $25, $30. And the fast networks have come, free ad supported television. So I think once the advertisers get to have a good number in terms of the reach, and you're able to give the exact metrics in terms of the location, the age group, which device, I think that kind of, that's would be the future. Right now you're seeing today's point of view, but that's what happened in the US few years back. Connected TV, there is no fast networks, but now it's US is doing great, UK is doing great, Europe is going. I think India will just follow. I think it's a question of time.
But what about outlets, you know, the different news distribution outlets, right, who take the charge of giving advertisement to us? There is no transparency in that. There is no transparency in terms of if we are giving you our content to display on your platforms, where is my revenue? Where is my share of revenue? And how do I know which ad you're playing on my content, so that you can give me royalty at least, you know, for the least. And advertising revenue share is as it goes, but it's just so unclear at the moment that even if we have to make this change, there needs to be hope. I'm sure that, of course, there is hope by looking at different countries, but at the moment we're moving at a lightning speed. And at this lightning speed, don't you think there has to be some regulation in terms of revenues and monetization, especially advertisement generation when, you know, happens on my content on different platforms? So where is that transparency, and how can we get that transparency, being a tech platform and, sir, from the government's perspective?
Yeah, actually this question should be pointed to Vikram Thaiji. Actually, yeah, you see that there is a tussle between media firms and these big tech firms. And in many countries, governments have intervened and they made policy. So what is the status in our country? I mean, we are in the process of making a policy. So when it is going to happen, and what is the, I mean...